You're listening to the Fantasy Wildcard Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty show. I'll be your host this week, Ali. It's actually the first time I've hosted this season. You can find me on X at FF Dynasty Grill. And with me as always, my two amazing co-hosts, Kev and Mags. You can follow Kev at Dynasty_Go. You can follow Mags at Hot Seat Mags. Guys, how are you doing? How was your weekend for fantasy?
Excellent weekend for me, Ali. Yeah, just it went really positive in terms of some of the big hitters. I got quite a lot of Justin Fields, DJ Moore, etc. So that's been a cracking weekend from that point of view. Personally, I was struggling for today, game time decision, being a little bit under the weather, but it's a really important day. It's World Mental Health Awareness Day, so had to come on, speak a little bit about that, and just really spread the message that we love doing this show. It's great for my mental health. Just if anybody's out there is struggling or needs support, there is someone out there to help. I'm always open to listen and support and really help you in any way I can. Mental health is something that's really important to us at Fantasy Wildcard, and the DMs are always open. So don't ever feel alone. Don't ever feel embarrassed. If you're struggling with something, speak to someone. I'm happy. Us three are all happy to help out. But yeah, you're feeling in a really good place and ready to talk some Dynasty. We've got a really exciting show tonight.
Yeah, I mean, how do I follow that, right? I mean, just like, hey guys, hope you're doing good. Yeah, Kev, really, really well said. Absolutely echo everything you said. Yeah, DM's always open, and it's always good, to chat about things. And yeah, if you've ever got anything going on, even just little steps forward, it always make a huge difference. And hopefully, listen to this awesome show is going to help you out as well. Why not, right?
100%. I have to say, joining this show and being with you as a family has really helped me, because I have had some dark times the past couple of years, losing my nan who I was really close to this year. So being able to talk to you openly about that has really helped me. So yeah, definitely reach out if you are struggling, or if you see anybody struggling, reach out to them. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be afraid to say something, because they might really appreciate it. Yeah. Definitely. With that, we'll move on to the topic of tonight's show, which is recapping week 5 of the Dynasty season. So this season is absolutely flying by, but there's so many talking points we have to talk about. So Kev, it's over to you first. You were on the practice report all week, did not practice, but you made it to the game here tonight. And you want to talk about a guy that has certainly made it to the games the last few weeks, is absolutely showing up. So over to you.
Yeah, like I said, game time decision tonight, but hopefully I'm not used as a decoy. I'm going to contribute to the show tonight. I'm not going to be like Keenan Allen a couple of years back, where he said, "Don't sit me," and then proceeded to sit himself, essentially. So looking to bring a lot to the show, and going to kick off with a guy that I did tease a little bit in the opening segment. DJ Moore, as he was on Thursday Night Football, his 3 touchdowns, and what an epic performance it was. I mean, he had 230 yards, he had 3 touchdowns, an absolute beast. He's up to wide receiver 4 in the season. He's gone over 500 yards on the season, 5 touchdowns. So averaging 100 yards, averaging a touchdown a game. I think despite the struggles that Fields has had, that the whole offense has had, he's looked fantastic. There was a question before the season as to what happens if DJ Moore doesn't hit this season, his last chance saloon. I think we called him the anti-hero, as a homage to Taylor Swift as well. So I think he's put those questions to bed in a tough situation in Chicago, where the focus is on him. There's been struggles with the offensive line, the coordinator, the play calling, a little bit with Fields in the beginning, but it should be noted that there was some tough matchups to begin the season. Then as it's getting a little bit easier, he's really coming out and showing his true value. I think where he's at in Dynasty, which we'll come on to, I still really like that price. I think there's plenty to be positive about in his future, no matter which way this Chicago team goes. I think he's 26 years old, he's at his peak, he's attainable at his cost. If you've bought into DJ Moore in the offseason, I think you can be really happy with the progress. Some will see it as a potential sell opportunity with the Bears having a couple of really high picks in the draft next season, and that you can take it a number of ways. Will they get a QB upgrade? Will they get a Marvin Harrison? I think we know this is a franchise that aren't scared to trade off the number one pick if they do end up with that. So, yeah, lots to think about. But I think the way DJ Moore started the season, you've got to be really happy with how that's begun.
Yeah, DJ Moore is someone who I'm really glad you mentioned there, Kev. It doesn't really matter what way things go for the Bears here. I think DJ Moore is still a really good buy in Dynasty, and keep trade cut, have him at wide receiver 16. I think that's about right. I'm looking at the names above going, yeah, okay. I'm looking at the names below. I'm thinking, I think I'd rather DJ Moore over all of these guys. So I think he's in about the right place for once on keep trade cut. They've actually, nailed it here. But yeah, if he's got Justin Fields as quarterback, they're going to be playing from behind every week because Justin Fields is still terrible. Don't forget that. And if they get Caleb Williams in, then he's going to have Caleb Williams. So it's a win-win for DJ Moore here. I think that you should be going out and trying to buy him because some people are still afraid, obviously, of Fields and him throwing the ball and just the Bears being terrible in general. So I still think even though he's had, 2 weeks ago, a really good week, and then, of course, a massive week just last week, there's still maybe a slight buy window for him, perhaps.
Wow. Interesting you should say that. I saw to see a trade for DJ Moore today for a first and a second, which is pretty spicy, but the way that he's playing, the guy did have Justin Fields as well. So that stack is really quite hot, especially when you see the next 3 weeks is just cake matchups, including this week's the Vikings. I think it's the Raiders and the Chargers. So, I mean, he could go nuclear the next 3 weeks as he has done the last two. So you could be looking at almost the number one, number two wide receiver in fantasy after those 3 games. So perhaps now is probably not the time to sell him. He could even be valued higher and ranked higher in the next few weeks if it continues. But certainly interesting you mentioned that there is obviously the draft over the horizon, and Chicago are going to be right at the forefront of that draft, especially having Carolina's pick. I think that's going to be the number one pick. I think they just cannot get a win to save their lives. So that's going to be Caleb Williams. The number 2 pick, there's a hell of a lot of teams queuing up for that number 2 pick. There's teams that are wanting quarterbacks, and actually the teams that are close to the top are actually the teams that need a quarterback or would really do with a quarterback upgrade coming in, a rookie next year. So you're looking at the Vikings, people like that, the Patriots, the Broncos, a lot of teams there. So I have a feeling if Chicago are there and they've got the number 1 and 2 pick, that there's going to be a team that is going to offer them handsomely for that number 2 pick, whether it be Drake May or one of the other quarterbacks, to get ahead of one of their rivals. The Chicago Bears, as you mentioned, Kev, are not they're not scared to trade out of that pick. So perhaps they don't trade number 1, but they could trade number 2. And therefore, if you've got DJ Moore with Caleb Williams, then that's only going to elevate his value even more. Obviously, the risk is if they stick and they somehow get Marvin Harrison Jr. as well, and DJ Moore is very likely going to be the wide receiver 2 there, his value and his ceiling could certainly be limited. So I think there's a chance if you do get the right offer, say if I had a first and a second in my inbox right now, it would be tempting to cash out of DJ Moore just because the volatility is there. But also, if you're a contender, you're probably not going to trade. You're not going to trade him away for that. You probably want a little bit more. So I think it's a really interesting time. I think you could see some trades around DJ Moore right now in terms of Dynasty, because people like to take a risk and some people don't like to take a risk. So they might want to trade away thinking that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be on the Bears and that could limit DJ Moore. So really interesting guy. But yeah, I was certainly in on him at the start of the season. Really glad after the start that him and Fields made that a lot of people aren't talking about him being so bad right now. So yeah, really interesting guy. We'll drop from a more positive note to a bit of a more negative note, Mags. You had to do it. So over to you. What is the topic that you want to bring up?
Yeah, the topic is just generally. So we talked a few weeks ago about these rookies that come in and just absolutely smashed and look great. But there are also a couple of rookies that we're thinking, not quite seeing exactly what I want to see. And, I'll kick things off here with Jackson Smith and Jigba being right at the very top of that list, especially because, the whole old trope of, it takes 3 years for a receiver to develop. That's been dead and buried for a while now. We're expecting these guys to come in and hit right away as a wide receiver. I mean, look at Puka Nacua, right? He's come in right away and hit right away as a rookie. And we see it constantly every single year. People coming in from Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Puka, every year. Olave, these guys come in and they hit right away. Jackson Smith and Jigba hasn't. But I think it's great for your dynasty teams because now you can go out and actually buy him. Don't forget, Jackson Smith and Jigba hasn't played football in a year, roughly, right? He came back, he played a couple of games for Ohio State at what looked like 50% pace last year. So he's not warmed up. He's not ready to go. He's still working behind DK Metcalf. And, don't forget about Tyler Lockett. He's still a really good player. And, of course, a lot of the time you've got, that Seahawk offense, he's probably not even on the field with the personnel that they line up with. So I never expected Jackson Smith and Jigba to come in and alight the NFL, even in his first year. I did say in the preseason, we're going to get to about week 5, week 6, and people are going to start to panic, and you're going to have a buy window. This is it right now. Go out and you might even be able to get him for a first. People might want that first back. If you're real lucky, you might be able to get him for a first. That'll be amazing.
It would. I'd certainly be aggressive. I love it going after Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think it's the perfect play right now if you're not a contender. I'm willing to do it in my leagues. I've even tried to do it in a couple. The window's not open. I think it's ajar at the minute because the people that I've talked about wanting to trade him, they actually weren't panicking too much. They said if I wanted him, I'm going to have to pay up more than what they paid to get him. So they're not panicking just yet. They're probably a lot smarter than a lot of dynasty players. I think they can get him. I think you can. Get
they listen to the show. That's why I like.
Yeah, that's the trouble. But the guy that I want to talk about is Bryce Young, another one that has started very slowly, the number 1 pick, and yeah, it's been a bit of a sad story for the Panthers. I do feel quite sorry for him because the offensive line I thought was going to be really good. It's not turned out that way. They've sort of struggled. The running game has not got going. Miles Sanders has been awful. Chuba Hubbard has looked the better running back of the two. The best wide receiver he's got is Adam Thielen, which, okay, that's not the worst wide receiver in the NFL. And for fantasy, he's been great. But if that's what you're banking on that to help out your rookie, then you're in a bit of trouble. The other wide receivers there haven't really got going either. So Bryce Young, a bit like Jackson Smith and Jigba, I'm actually still quite bullish on Bryce Young. I think he's got a lot of job security in that organization. He's going to be there for at least 2, 3, 4 years, see out his rookie contract. And I think he's only going to get better. They're going to help him out. So they're going to build around him. I'm actually buying Bryce Young right now. If I'm not a contender, obviously, I'm happy to buy Bryce Young and to see him develop in the next few years. I think it's going to be a slow process, but what I saw of him as a rookie, he's an incredibly talented quarterback, elite level thinker. It's just doing it on the NFL level. It's obviously quicker pace. He's not got the best receivers, so he's struggling right now. But certainly, it's another guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba that I'm actively trying to buy.
Yeah, and I think you've both mentioned guys that have really struggled to begin with. I'm going to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, who was a guy that I was super high on him as my running back 2 in Dynasty before the season. I could see a pathway to him maintaining that into next season, but I think we will come on to this a little bit later as well when we're discussing sort of the running back landscape. I think you've got to be fluid and flexible with your rankings, and also by this point in your season, you should know which way you're going to go. Are you going to be contending or rebuilding? And I think that does change your rankings within your tiers. Who becomes higher up in that, who becomes lower that. But I think with Gibbs, it has been a slower start than expected. People expecting that the Jamal Williams, David Montgomery thing wasn't going to happen. He's actually doing better than Jamal Williams was. So you can see a similar pathway here to Gibbs and Swift, which is gonna drop him in rankings. It's gonna put people off. I think you just got to bank on talent. Remember a guy like Alvin Kamara in his rookie season. It took him till sort of week 4 or 5 for that explosion, and then it was just wheels up from there. So I think the hope's not fully gone with Gibbs. He's someone that you have to drop in your rankings if you had him where I did, running back 2. But like you mentioned, trying to buy these slow starting rookies after 5 weeks, it's going to be really tricky because people have paid premium draft picks to get these guys. I think as well, you do tend to get a little bit jealous. Think of it like each position, it's a little bit like that dragon main where there's the 2 fierce dragons and then there's that wimpy dragon at the end. People will compare, they'll say, look, with, say, Bryce Young, you've got Stroud and Richardson who are killing it, and then he's become sort of the loser because his competitors are doing excellent. It's the same with Gibbs, with sort of Bijan and A-Chain doing really well. People have automatically gone negative on him. But I think just wrapping up on JSN, he's probably the one I'm the least worried about because think of the guys going around him. Addison's not really smashed it. Quentin Johnston's not. Flowers has flashed a little bit, but he's had some big drops as well and big lapses in concentration. So I think, you outside of Puka Nakua, who's been unreal. You're not going to be too worried about any of your rookies at this stage. I think, if you can, there will be teams that want to re-roll again, but I think slow starting rookies, personally, I'm happy just to keep it a little bit longer. But I think you need to be acting soon if you are wanting to pivot, because if it gets to week 8, 9, 10 and they're not doing anything, the price is going to drop. You won't be able to get as much back.
I don't know if any of you seen the brilliant quote tweet from, it was one of the Lions staff, and someone quote tweeted from a few weeks ago. He had said we're going to use Jahmyr Gibbs in ways people won't see coming, and someone quote tweeted not at all. We just won't use him at all. It's nobody didn't see that coming. You're right. Yeah, absolutely nailed it.
Wow. Of all the Lions' success as well, and everybody loving the Lions, the fact that they are using Gibbs like this, it's not great as fantasy managers. Don't like it, but really interesting 3 players with really high draft capital. We're going to move on to a guy that is the opposite end of the spectrum, was almost undrafted, Mr. Irrelevant himself. It's Brock Purdy, the absolute winning machine. Now, I love Brock Purdy, so I do love talking about Brock Purdy, but even I didn't see the performance coming that he put up against the Cowboys. 4 passing touchdowns, which surpassed everything that he normally does. He usually sticks on 2 passing touchdowns, and then that's it. He's happy to bottle out at 20 points and says, I'm done. You lot take the rest on. But 4 passing touchdowns on just 17 pass attempts. The receivers that he's got, they are yak monsters in Kittle, McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk. Just get them the ball. They do the rest. And it's just perfect. It's poetry in motion. It's just not having to try too hard. And his stats, 9 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. He's not thrown a pick yet this year. He's playing absolutely lights out. And for fantasy as well, he's the quarterback 7 on the year, which is pretty incredible. My expectation was, and I said this in the offseason, he's going to be a fringe quarterback 1 where he was at the back end of last year. I thought that would continue, but he seems to have stepped up. They've just sort of kept healthy almost. Debo's not always been healthy, but the core has been healthy. The last 3 games has been even better. So back to back, 20-plus point performances, and even got better each week. Quarterback 4 over the last 3 games in points per game. So he's performing at an elite level. And for normal NFL as well, we talk about Justin Fields, and the Bears went on a 13-game losing streak. Well, the opposite end is Brock Purdy, the 49ers, 10 regular season wins in a row to start his career, which he's the 5 off the all-time record. So just an absolute machine, a winner. The start of the season, he was the quarterback 20. I know I was touting him just get him because he's the perfect quarterback 2, because he'll perform at a fringe quarterback 1 level, and he's even surpassing that. Look at Keep Trade Cut today. He's up to quarterback 12, which is really interesting. Obviously, He's still only 23 years old. He's in an elite offense. He's locked in there for the next few years because they've put so much money into so many players that they can't afford any other quarterback to come in there and be the quarterback. They can't pay a Kirk Cousins, someone like that, to be quarterback. So just, boys, what are we doing with him in Dynasty? And Kev, what is your confidence level in Purdy long term?
Well, this is a really interesting guy because this offseason, if you remember towards the end of last season, I had loads of Purdy. I got him off waivers, was really aggressive with that. And then sort of through the offseason, I wouldn't say I faded him, but I had him lower than consensus in the sense that I thought it was an open competition between him, Lance, Darnold, etc. I think once it became apparent that Lance wasn't really the guy and it is going to be Purdy, he was back from his injury, that gave me the confidence to be more in on him and be up on him because, like you said, situation's perfect. And while I am skeptical of the talent with it being a 7th round pick, and look at Tom Brady. He was a guy that made the most of excellent situations throughout his career. Obviously, he had a lot of talent as well, but let's not beat around the bush. He had some amazing teams, some amazing O-lines, defenses around him, which put him in a great spot. Brock Purdy's in a similar situation where the weapons around him are fantastic. The defense is great. He's got an amazing play caller. He's tied down for another, 3 seasons minimum. They can't move on from him because the cap committed to every other player on that roster. So you've got the confidence that he's going to be the 49ers QB for the next couple of seasons in an amazing situation. And I know in Dynasty we preach talent over situation, but when the situation is guaranteed for the next couple of years, you've got to factor that in. And he's someone that I'm not quite a QB 12, but I'm not far off, to be honest. I think he's someone that's so solid as a QB too. Like, you know exactly what you're getting from him every week. They're putting up points for Will. He's just, someone that I think you needed to be buying into and have some exposure to because of what could happen and what has happened. But I think high QB2 for me, and you've got to be really, really pleased again. Like I mentioned with DJ Moore, if you've bought him in the off season, his value's gone up, and you can literally do what you want now. If you want to pivot, you can, but there's no real need to pivot right now.
Yeah, the best thing about it, not only is he looking pretty good, he's looking better every single week. He's getting better. So it is amazing what he is doing. And Ali, I think you said it perfectly. He is the perfect quarterback too. He is everyone always talked about Kirk Cousins being, I think he's taken that throne from Kirk Cousins, right? He is now king quarterback to Brock Purdy. You could be there for the next 10 years happily, sitting in your dynasty team. That's worth its weight in absolute gold. I'm going out and I'm aggressively trying to buy Brock Purdy because with these rookie quarterbacks coming in, you got your rookie picks. You might have taken someone like a Bryce Young last year and you're just gutted, just devastated. So I'm looking next year, if I've got one of these picks middle of the first round, I'm looking to see if I can flip it and get a guy like a Brock Purdy instead, who I know is really safe, instead of taking a risk on some of these guys coming in who we don't really know what's going to happen. So I think he's great. I think I'm with you, Kev. I don't quite have him as high as quarterback 12, but he's not far off it at all.
Brock Purdy, you like that?
You like that?
Oh yes,
you like that.
I just say that he just enables you, if he's your quarterback two, to have a more riskier quarterback one, where the ceiling is a Lamar Jackson each week, a Justin Fields that could have a 5-point game or a 50-point game, whereas Brock Purdy in the Superflex is going to give you 15 to 20 points every week. Just give you that baseline to go on and win. So that's why I love him so much in Dynasty. But the segues are extremely easy tonight because we've gone from a high-flying offense to perhaps the worst looking offense in the NFL. And in fact, it's offensive, this offense. Kev, over to you.
Yeah, we had to call it out, didn't we, eventually? I think the New England Patriots offense is it's embarrassing, really, the fact that they've not scored a touchdown the last couple of weeks. A lot was made of Bill O'Brien coming in, being this offensive guru and making the most out of Mac Jones, who's flash potential. And I liked him as a prospect, as a passer, someone that was coming from with a high caliber from a great school for QBs, and I thought there was some untapped potential there, but it's not come together for whatever reason. It's been a mild shock, but also you look at some of the weapons around there, maybe not taking the step they need. Maybe Juju's not being as good as I thought it could be. Maybe Gesicki's not had an impact. Hunter Henry's been good. I think he's been one shining spotlight in certain scenarios, but he had 0 points this week in a tough Titan match, to be fair. So I think two players that stand out to me, Mac Jones, first of all. He's the one that's not hit his stride. He's down around about that QE 28 to 30 range at the market. What are we doing with Mac Jones is a question. Like, is he someone that you've still got hope for? Is it just literally pivoting for anything? Maybe for Will Levis, and hopefully he gets his chance, or someone around that range that is just literally a sideways pivot and you're hoping for something. The other big question is Ramondre Stevenson. He's not hit the heights that we were expected. He's splitting time with Zeke Elliott. He's looking as a 1B in some situations. He's not being the pass catcher. He's not being the rusher that we expected. And the big step was expecting him to take in this offense. So lots of question marks. I think Stevenson's dropped massively at keep trade cut. He's sort of in that 15 to 20 range now. So I guess if anybody was in on him before, they're going to be still well in on him now. But yeah, this offense is offensive. I can't see the situation changing anytime soon. They're not going to take any magic potion or anything. So really disappointing. If you've got any Patriots, pivot-wise, are people going to be interested in Patriots players? I find it difficult. So yeah, what's your guys' thoughts on the Patriots as a whole, Mac Jones and Ramondre in particular?
I mean, first of all, isn't it ironic that a team's name that's spelled P-A-T, Riots, haven't got a P-A-T in like who knows how long, right? They are just absolutely abysmal. Not a riot or a P-A-T in sight for the Patriots. I mean, Mac Jones is just crap, isn't he? He's just awful. Like every time you look, he looks slow. He looks unfit. Even, I mean, far be it from me to say, but same kind of thing with Russell Wilson last year. He looks out of shape. He looks slow. He looks sluggish. The teammates, like, how many times do you see like a quarterback take a hit and like 1 second later you've got an offensive lineman there to pick him up? The Patriots, they're taking their sweet time to get over to Mac Jones to pick him up. Something isn't right there. Something's off completely. He's sitting at quarterback 28 at the minute. I mean, I'm looking at guys below him. You mentioned Will Levis. Yeah, I'll take a shot on Will Levis over, Mac Jones. Absolutely. Guys around him, like, man, Zach Wilson's. I'd almost rather take a shot at Zach Wilson at this stage than Mac Jones, because one's playing at least passable at quarterback and one really, really isn't. I mean, I think this could be the end of Mac Jones. This could be backup Mac about to happen because he looks absolutely awful.
I'm gonna have a slightly different opinion. not. I mean, I can't disagree with him being crap, because at the minute that offense is as the teams call it, it's dog water. But I just think that Mac Jones is eventually going to get a shot elsewhere. I think that there's not many options left in this offense if it continues to start, and I just feel so sorry for them, because and their fans, they're in a league where the Buffalo Bills can score 50-60 points in a game. The Dolphins can score 70 points in a game. Yeah. The Jets, I mean, if they would have had Aaron Rodgers, they'd have been scoring 40-50 burgers. They just can't compete in that league, and I just think that they're going to have to go for a quarterback change. I mean, Bailey Zappi's not really going to set the world alight. It's not a great situation, but I just think if Mac Jones's value is going to keep going down to where it is, if it hits quarterback 30 and he falls behind Will Levis and these guys, then I'm probably going to take a shot in a couple of places for, I don't know what you're offering. I don't even know what you'd offer for Mac Jones, because even if it's a really late second, it feels really crappy. So no one's going to take a third for a starting quarterback. Perhaps when he gets benched, you might be okay. But yeah, moving on from Mac Jones to Ramondre, and yeah, I mean, not really looking much better, to be honest. I mean, he's currently the runner back 27. Started the season fine with 14.9, 15 fantasy points first 2 games, but Zeke Elliott's come in and not looked great. I think the first game back, we were like, oh, okay, he's got a bit of juice left, and then it's just all gone, all evaporated. He's actually behind Jaleel McLaughlin now in fantasy points on the season, which is, I mean, that's terrible. I could say get what you can for Ramondre Stevenson. Trouble is, people aren't even going to be giving you probably a 2nd-round pick for him right now. I mean, it's really difficult. He's the sort of guy where you just need to hold on, really, and just eventually there might be a point where his value will go up to a point where you can probably sell him for a second. It's just really disappointing because he looked great last year, and I had him as a top 10 dynasty running back, and it just shows how much the landscape can change. So it's really difficult, but not great for Ramondre owners. I had him in a couple of leagues where I thought I was going to compete, and he's just been irrelevant for me. So, sad situation for the Patriots offense, and just can't see it getting much better. So I think if you've got them, hold on to them.
They need to fire Bill Belichick. They do. They really do. They will not make the playoffs again with Bill Belichick as manager. Mark my words.
Perhaps I need Matt Canada as offensive guru. The guy that doesn't celebrate touchdowns.
That's like weird ghost flinches after it was awful. It was so bad.
We'll continue the theme of disappointing sort of positions right now. We'll move over to you, Mags, and talk about the tight end wasteland. But I'm excited because there might be a game coming up.
Yeah, we're going to play a little game. I'm just to kind of show you just how just weird and kind of awful the tight end position has been this year. I'm going to say the name of a tight end and then the name of another player. And you're both going to tell me which one you think has got more fantasy points this year. In just standard PPR, no premium. Sound good?
Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Well, we'll start off then with Sam Laporta, right? Sam Laporta is the number 1 tight end on the year, okay? So, can you tell me who has got more fantasy points so far this year? Is it Sam Laporta or is it Jacoby Myers? Ali, I'll go to you. Go to you first.
Oh man. Obviously Laporta's been very consistent, not scored many touchdowns. Jacoby Myers he's been really good when Jimmy G's been in. I tweeted about that today. I'm gonna say Jacoby Myers.
I'd have gone Laporta.
It's Sam Laporta by a whisker, by less than a point. But just to show you, that is the best tight end you could possibly have compared to Myers, who everyone's like, he's doing pretty good, right? It's a really we're used to like Travis Kelce, right? I know Hannah brought that up on the Rewind show. We're used to Kelce being up there as a high end wide receiver 1, but I mean, that's the kind of leading tight end right now. Oh, I've got 2 more for you. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me who has got more fantasy points this year? The much maligned Cincinnati Bengals defense. or Kyle Pitts, who has got more fantasy points this year? Kev, we'll go to you first this time.
I think Sneak, like any leagues with defense, it just does the heading because you got to do waivers on them every week, no question of a doubt. But I think they've had a couple of big weeks, Bengals, so I'm going to lean Bengals. I've got Pitts on teams. I know he's been pretty dreadful.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to disagree to even the score up, but I'm going to have to agree. Take it to the final one.
Yeah, the Bengals absolutely crushing them, right? They're nearly 10 points ahead. They're only 5 weeks. And we'll go one more. Let's make it a bit easier this time. Can you tell me who's got more fantasy points? Is it Dalton Schultz or David Njoku? both tight ends.
Wow.
Kev, we'll go to you first. The Njoku guy, lest we forget.
See, I know a lot about Njoku.
Where did he get that mask from?
That was amazing. This is atrocious because Schultz did nothing up until like 2 weeks ago.
Week. Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Schultz just because I know he's had a big week and I don't think Njoku has.
Yeah, I think it's Schultz, but I'm gonna have to disagree just to have a shot.
So you can even it. So it is Dalton Schultz. But the interesting bit is the chasm between them. Dalton Schultz is technically a tight end 1. He's tight end 12. David Njoku's tight end 24, so at the very bottom of tight end 2s. It shows you like the gulf between them.
Jeez.
And people just aren't really sure because it's just a complete crapshoot.
Yeah. I mean, it has been an awful. It just seems worse this year. I mean, you've had TJ Hawkinson that started off red hot and was really good, but just the last few weeks just feel like he's not contributed them big high ceilings. You've got Mark Andrews struggling. Kelsey's been good. I hope he's playing. I hope he's playing this week. That did look bad, but I'm glad that it's not a serious injury. And then beyond that, you've obviously had George Kittle with the big game this week. Cole Kmet's looked decent. I mean, for him to be the tight end 4, yeah, it's not great. I mean, Sam Laporta must be worth. He was a second-round pick in the rookie draft this year. I mean, he's got to be worth probably a first-round pick now.
Yeah,
because he is probably the tight end 1 in Dynasty, and he's probably looked the best out of all the tight ends.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one thing just to keep at the back of your mind and consider and be open-minded on is we've spoke a lot about with tight end, it's either stars or scrubs where you're either going for the top couple or you're looking to really go further down into the list and hopefully hit on one of these guys late on. You've got to pose the question, is the strategy moving forward going to be taking 2 or 3 tight ends in this, say, 20 to 30 range and just streaming the matchups? Is that how it's going to be now with how poorly the top of the tight end landscape is looking? That's something just to consider, I guess, moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's going to be lots of strategies going forward, and it feels like we've had the same one for the last 2 or 3 years where it's get an elite one, fade to position completely. But I think it could change going into next off season. So yeah, an interesting one to look out for. Another interesting one and a very fluid situation is the running back landscape, and just a bit of game theory going on. So what a bit more of a general discussion rather than talk about one guy. So I've got a little question myself. So how many running backs who were drafted as a top 12 in ADP into PPR format, how many of those are top 24 running backs right now?
Wow. 5.
I'll surely top 12. Well, one's definitely. I'll go one more. I'll go 6.
It is 6. Well done.
But
just 6 in the top 24 just shows just how much the movement is. I mean, it's still early. It's week 5, but when you look at the top 10, so this is 6 of the top 10. You've got obviously Devon Achane, you've got Kyron Williams, Raheem Mostert, David Montgomery, Zach Moss, the stud, and DeAndre Swift as well. These are guys that were drafted sort of outside the top 24, and they make up 6 of the top 10 right now. So, yeah, the position is, as you mentioned earlier, Kev, it's very fluid. You have to keep your rankings have to change. You can't have take lock and say this is my locked in rankings for the season because running back position changes so much, even Dynasty. And it's complete opposite to the wide receiver rankings, which really remain very stable, and the values are safe. That a lot of them don't change too much. The running back values are just so volatile. We've spoke about Ramondre Stevenson. I had him as a running back 9, I think, entering the season. Just a huge drop right now. Running back 20, whatever he is now. You got Najee Harris again. He's had a massive drop in value. Nick Chubb with the injury and now his age, and we spoke about Jahmyr Gibbs as well, how high he was. he's seen a slight drop as well. So you just have to adjust fast because there's so many changes. And for obviously Devon A-Chain, he's just come out of nowhere, and now he's a top 5 dynasty running back for me. So this is my top 5 at the minute. Bijan, Breece Hall, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, and A-Chan. So it's just constantly changing. I'll probably say you don't really want to change it every single week, but every 3 or 4 weeks when you've seen a trend, and I mean, A-Chan is just touching the ball. I think he touched the ball 3 times and went over 100 yards against the Giants. He was on the field for 46% or 48% of the snaps and just put up another massive performance. So I just think with that, bringing it back to Dynasty, there are big profits to be made when you've had these guys on your roster. Perhaps you've drafted them, and someone like Devon A-Chain, who I was taken at the back end of the first round. You could probably got him in round 2. What are you catching him in for right now? Because you can get probably multiple first round picks for him. I put up a poll and it was really even, where it was 2 first round picks, mid first round picks, or A-Chan, and it was pretty much neck and neck. Another intriguing guy, Jonathan Taylor. I just want to come to you, Kev. Is he in your top 5, or where would he rank for you? And also, what's his value? And then, is there any of the running backs in the top 5? I want to open it up to both of you, that if you're a contender, that you're looking to aggressively buy right now.
Yeah, I think first of all, I just want to give a shout out to this show. Really, I know that we do talk about our misses as well as hits, but I think we were all extremely high on A-Chain in the offseason. I think anybody listening to our content will have drafted him and will be absolutely laughing the socks off right now. So big shout out to us on that. We'll avoid any misses we had, such as Jameer Gibbs and myself. But I think the top 5 you mentioned, they are the correct 5 in my opinion. Despite being high on Gibbs, I think he's just got to drop a little bit out, maybe to number 6. Mm-hmm. I think in that 5, there's a bit of something for everyone. So you've got your real win now players, your McCaffrey, and then you've got Bijan, who's a bit of everything, where he deserves to be number 1. And then other guys like Hall to come back and have a strong second half season, same way Jonathan Taylor, and then A-Chain. Probably with the injury now, it's a potential take you down a rebuild route if you are becoming appealing to rebuilders that don't want the points on the squad. You could probably flip someone like Taylor for an A-Chain, no problem with that. I think with Jonathan Taylor, though, he's someone that I do worry about his ceiling. People will say, Zach Moss got a touchdown from Richardson, but look at the number of receptions he had with Richardson. Not great in terms of target share. So I think there's a myth there that he might be a pass catcher. I don't think that. I think Jonathan Taylor could be a little bit like a Nick Chubb career now with that team, where he's going to be absolutely fantastic as a rusher. We've seen what Moss can do as a runner in that offense with that threat of Richardson. Taylor's going to smash that, so you can expect massive rushing seasons, rushing touchdowns, but maybe capped in terms of pass catching. Makes him more volatile, but he's got the contract now, so he's locked in top 5 for me in that respect. In terms of value, I'm not going crazy with running backs over. I think a first and a second is something you'd be looking to do, provided you've got an extremely strong team. And he's the last piece. I think trading for any running back and including a random 24 first at this stage is very dangerous, because it only takes one big injury and your random 24 first that you think is going to be late then becomes into that Marvin Harrison, Drake May range. And imagine if you do something like that, and we know Taylor's about 24 going on 25. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Taylor. I think top 5, you nailed it. And then you just got to be flexible and open-minded as to what order you do it in based on where you're at in the dynasty cycle. And then I guess the only other question, you did mention A-Chain then. I love him. He's right up there. I think he's gone above Gibbs for me. I'd have no problem with him as high as running back 3. What about you, Max?
Yeah, I think running back 3. I just gotta, if you thought that you would take 2 firsts, 2 mid firsts over Devon A-Chain, who the hell do you think you are? I mean, do you really think that you're going to be able to turn those two mid firsts into the third best running back in Dynasty Fantasy Football? Are you crazy? Like, you're not going to be able to do that. You already paid a first-round pick for him. So why do you think the person's going to take just an extra first on top of that? That's never, ever, ever going to get it done. Etienne is worth well north of 2 firsts because, yeah, he is the third best running back in Dynasty right now. And he's heir to the throne of number 2, by the way, because Christian McCaffrey is getting older. The only other name I would maybe throw in there, maybe take out a Jonathan Taylor. I'm still a big believer in Austin Eckler. I know he's been injured, but whenever he is fit and healthy, he's the only guy that I think can keep pace with a guy like Christian McCaffrey week in and week out. So he would be someone that I might take out Jonathan Taylor for. But I think Etienne, there's not a lot of things that you could do to get him out of my team unless you're coming to me with a Breece Hall, with Christian McCaffrey. I mean, if you're really wanting to push it, someone like a not Kenny Gainwell, that will not do it. Kenneth Walker will get it done a lot quicker. Someone like that who's really going to do a good job of replacing the points that Etienne is going to bring in, because I think he's an absolute slam dunk. He's definitely overtaking Gibbs for me. Had him behind Gibbs in the pre-draft process, as I think everybody did. But yeah, he's just looked so good. Get the tables.
Love that. What a turnaround from being a healthy scratch week 1 to being just a fantasy god. And what a show we've just had. So thanks for listening, where we've recapped week 5 of the Dynasty season with some theory in there as well. So thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us and subscribe on X and YouTube at Fantasy Wildcard and at Wildcard Dynasty. And join us for our show every Tuesday in season. So yeah, thank you once again. Have a good one, and we'll see you again soon.